for cafecito, time for cafecito, time for cafecito break. Join us, take a sip. It's time to wait. Hurry on up, we've got people to shake. Time for cafecito, time for cafecito, time for cafecito break.
Mi gente, it's time for Cafecito Break. Take a moment right now to like, share, subscribe, and tell a friend that Cafecito is live right now. And tonight we are live with Rich Valdes, and we're going to be speaking about the Mamdani effect. Will his loyalty to the DSA wake up New York City voters? As always, we are live YouTube, X, and Rumble via Cafecito Break. All right, without further ado, let's reveal our little faces. Hello. Pero perdimos a alguien. Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Rosangel Pérez, one of the Pérez sisters of Cafecito Break. We are media producers for over a decade here in New York City, focusing on all things New York. And we're happy to be here welcoming our featured guest, Rich Valdes, who has a show right after this one. So we're going to make it quick. I'll introduce this, pass this to our co-host, Mark, and then he'll introduce Cozy.
Hello, fellow freedom-loving Americans. Mark Frannoy here, former State Assembly, City Council candidate, fellow New York freedom fighter. Excited to be here with Rich, who I met several years ago at one of the New York Young Republican Club's galas, but he's been doing his thing out here with the New York politics. But I'll pass it on to fellow freedom fighter Cozy Wellness before we get into the interview with Rich.
What's going on, everybody? Cozy here, a former healthcare worker that was fired for refusing the COVID vaccine, health freedom activist, and I'm here today to speak to Rich. So, Rosangel, take it away.
Well, you know, I'm excited to have Rich on the show today. He has his own show, This is America, and feel free to correct me while we're here. You know, where he talks about the complicatedness of America from a Latino perspective, and he hosts the show from iHeartRadio, correct? And Roku?
Yep, you got it right.
And Rich, welcome to the show. Please please let the community know, because you have a show right after hours where they can tune in so that they can, you know, also listen to your show afterwards.
You bet. Well, I would invite everybody to come check me out at richvaldes.com. That's Valdes with an S, richvaldes.com. We tape the show at 9 o'clock. It gets posted shortly after that. We talk about, like Rosangel mentioned, everything that's going on in America. We do it at night, and we try to make sense of all the crazy that's going on from New York all the way to Alaska. And I want to thank Mark and Cozy and, of course, you, Rosangel, for having me on. I've seen so many of your clips of your show. It's a terrific show, but I've never seen the intro, and that is one of the most slamming intros I've seen, the Cafecito Break song. You had me going over here. So thank you for the warm welcome.
Thank you. That, to me, that song is a testimony of just the Cafecito Break spirit, which was, you know, produced by Cozy right here. And, you know, we are, I guess COVID is one of the reasons we all met. So for those who are tuning in, Monday nights is reserved for all things New York. We are the New York Freedom Fighters podcast, and there's a lot happening in New York. All eyes seem to be always on New York. Rich, how are you seeing it from your end? Today, we wanted to focus on Mayor Mamdani, who seems to be on the tongue of everybody, and not, I think, for the best reasons, even though maybe some of the socialists would disagree.
You know, Rosangel, I'm going to break a few hearts here and upset a few people, but while I agree that there is momentum and people are seeing how bad Mamdani and his policies are, I think he is not to be taken as a joke. He's not to be taken lightly. I make fun of him the same way I made fun of Joe Biden, calling him Joe El Baboso Biden. Right? I'm coming up with a new nickname for Mamdani. I think I'm going to call him Zoran El Mamau Mamdani. But it doesn't really mean that this guy should be taken as a joke, right? I mean, I like to have a good time and make a lot of jokes, but this guy is one of the most eloquent, most effective communist communicators I've seen in a long time. I've been doing this for 20 years, and the guy is sharp, he is solid, he wins people over. He literally told a group of people who lost family members for 9/11 most recently, when they asked him point blank, the media, right? The fake news media asked him, hey, these people don't want you to come. Why are you going to come? And he said with pride and a beaming smile, I'm going to be here to stand side by side with these families who my lawyer, my chief counsel here in New York supported Al-Qaeda, right? I mean, he has a tremendous, A, set of balls, and B, a level of skill that we haven't seen. AOC wishes she was as smooth talking as Mamdani. So I don't want to give him an endorsement. I'm just trying to set the stage for he's a serious mover. He's a serious shaker. When he comes into a city council that already, I think, is 70% DSA, you got a problem on your hands, right? So I don't want to quelch anybody's spirit. I think we should always fight. That's what we do, right? We fight, and we fight. But at some point, we just need to realize that across America, there's more of us than there are of them. In New York City, I'm not so sure. There might be more of them than there are of us, right? And this is part of the I think the part that messes up my brain. I'm a dad. I've got two kids. One's 25, one is 21. I could tell you my 25-year-old, she's out in the world. She's doing her thing. She lives in the South. She went to school in the South and stayed in the South. And she didn't come back here because she thought, I could make more money there coming out of college, but I'm going to spend triple on housing costs, right? And this is just a reality of life. When I was her age, I owned a business and I was doing really, really well, but it was a different time. So I look at all that and I say, man, how do we help this? And our message on the conservative Republican side is not one of making it more affordable for young people. So when we're talking about stopping immigration and things that are necessary, but that my daughter could care less about stopping immigration, right? She doesn't see that big picture yet. She wants to get a job and she wants to make money and have her roommates. So I approach this from the perspective of you get this smooth talker who comes out who was rapping with his shirt off from a halal cart talking about the Holy Land 5, and he says, hey, guess what? I'm going to freeze your rents. This gets the attention of a lot of young people. So I think messaging has to be effective. I think people are starting to see, and really it came down to a series of disses. I think Mamdani came in, he dissed the Jews first and foremost. Arranca pa'l carajo, right? He sent them all packing. Then next you got the Catholic churches and the group of churches, the churches that are burning. He turns his back on those. Now we had most recently, you mentioned earlier, the fiasco with him turning his back on Puerto Rican Democrats, right? That was one I didn't see coming, but that happened too. And then following that, we have this most recent one with both, it's a double, right? We could talk about a lot of things here. I'm putting a lot out there. One is the dissing the Italians in Little Italy on the map. And then, of course, you have this Daria Lisa Chevalier from Washington Heights and the Espaillat fiasco. Now you want to throw in a little extra. You could talk about how 25 years ago Al-Qaeda turned Lower Manhattan into a mass grave, and he's Team Al-Qaeda in so many ways. He doesn't really even bite his tongue on that stuff. He appoints people that are Al-Qaeda friendly. He took pictures with what's his name? What is his name? Siraj Wahaj, the unindicted co-conspirator in the 1993 bombing, right? Then he's got this praise that he's given, right? He says that it was the FBI that radicalized, I forget the guy's name, I can't pronounce it anyway, but I think it's Anwar al-Awlaki. This was the chief propagandist for Al-Qaeda. So you put all of that together and you say, hold on a second. So you're not lying, right? You said you're going to do these things. You do these things. You put the middle finger in my face and you tell me to go F myself. And yet everybody's still like, man, but we love this guy. What a great smile. But the reality is those people don't like us either. Our neighbors don't like us. We have been outnumbered. Manhattan, for example, is just one example I'm going to use, is my studio's on 47th and Broadway. That is a very expensive place to live. Hell's Kitchen, Times Square. So when you put all of that together and you say, man, these young people that are not necessarily my kid. Why? Because my kid did the reverse. She went down south because it was affordable. Meanwhile, you have people that have remote work because of COVID that are making six figures and better that can afford to at least have a place or roommate a place. In Manhattan, now you have a bunch of non-native New Yorkers that are living here, that can afford to live here, that support this nonsense. So that is truly the problem that I think is unique to New York, that is different than we're having across America. And, you know, I was really happy to come and talk about this because I think nobody knows this stuff better than you all, right? You guys are in the trenches all the time. I do my show from a studio all the time. I see you on the street all the time, right? You're always out there in the trenches doing your thing. So, yes, I am encouraged by people. You know, I had some good traction on this Instagram video, and I was at this party that was arranged as a, you know, FU to Mamdani, the big Puerto Rican festival from the committee, the cultural committee. But ultimately, this was, I don't want to say too little too late because I don't think it is too little too late, but it's a step in the right direction. But man, we have a lot to go.
Definitely. You touched on something that I mentioned last week. Mamdani has that persona, the smile, the ability to speak. And let's face it, free stuff and cheaper stuff is an easy message to sell. It's the majority of people, you know, even going back to Obama, the message of just taxing the rich more, those who make six figures, whatever, over 200,000 a year. Majority of people don't make, there's more people that don't make 200,000 a year than there are that do. So it seems like, oh, that seems okay. It doesn't affect me, so let me vote for that. And they don't understand, you know, the minimum wage increase and the effect and how the economy actually works and how richer people would leave to Florida and you're not taxing anybody. They don't see the big picture, but it is a selling point, and that doesn't matter because the voters are going to vote for what makes sense to them. And you know, we're not doing, as the Republican Party isn't doing enough of a job of, you know, preaching to those people and explaining it to it, because every election cycle they have the same strategy of targeting Republicans. And when it comes to voting, I have a very interesting thing to say here, and I hope this gets clipped, because Mamdani wants IDs to show that you live in New York to go and buy at his grocery stores. That's not racist, but it's racist to have an ID to vote. So tell me how that works exactly. Like, you need an ID to go buy a banana in a grocery store, but you don't need an ID to go and vote. Explain that one to me, Mayor Manny Petty.
Well, you know, again, I think Democrats, in particular the radical left, right? Because I think there's a lot of Democrats right now looking at Mamdani and they're like, he's not the poster child I signed up for. They signed up for Bill Clinton, right? So they're not interested, but they don't have the same gravitas. As you could see, again, I'm going to take this national for a second, just because you said that the Republican Party needs help with messaging. Since the day I got into this thing, that's what they've been saying. And there's a degree of truth to that. But the reality is they're fighting the fight at the tip of the spear, right? So all of these problems happen because we have mass immigration, and we've had it, and we've had this broken problem for quite a while because of the fraud. Things that President Trump right now, I think, is addressing head on as best as he can with his skeleton crew of Marco Rubio and the rest of the gang going against the entire swamp, which I think, you know, having worked in government, I can tell you, this is no small task. I think sometimes we get lost in watching TV and seeing Trump with all that swag, and he comes out and he's gangsta and he's just like, and we're going to do this and we're going to get him and it's great. And I love that tough talk because you need it. But there's not 1,000 Trumps. There's one. There's one Trump, and he's got a handful of other guys that have his back. And you're going against, no lie, I think the size of the federal government, even though he cut it, is still millions strong. This is a massive undertaking. So it's very difficult to turn around a Titanic that size. It's really up to us, right? I think that's really where this magic happens, is getting to the people. And in my opinion, that's where it happens best. So you're 100% right, saying, hey, I need an ID for this and I don't need it for that. I need an ID for SNAP, for any type of welfare benefit, but I don't need it for voting. It's always been nonsense. It's always been a stupid argument. But people like to focus on grievance. You know, I'm going to go off track here, and you can reel me back in. I have ADHD. But yesterday I commented on something that I thought was, when I worked in government, and I worked in the Department of Children and Families in Governor Chris Christie's administration. And I saw a post about a woman who left her car running and walked away from the car with her 2-year-old child in the back seat. She walked away. She claimed she could see the car, but what she saw was somebody get in the car and steal the car with her kid in it. She freaks out and she calls the cops. And she's frantic, obviously, any parent would be. My comment was not directly towards her, but the comment section of this post, and I'm gonna talk about it on the show tonight, just a little preview. was filled with people saying, all you people that are blaming the mom. And I'm thinking, all you people blaming the mom, who are we supposed to blame? The guy that stole the car? He couldn't have stolen the car if it wasn't on with a kid in it, right? So, I mean, that's just a reality. I'm not trying to be bad or trying to be mean. This woman left her car running with, apparently she was strapped for cash and she was working as a DoorDash person or Instacart and she was making a delivery. Like I mentioned, I had 2 kids. I didn't do that. And I've been strapped for cash over the last, 30, 40 years. I'm 48. Trust me, I've had hard times. My point in saying all that was people love the grievance. There were thousands of people just coming at, they were coming at me, they were coming at anybody saying that this mom should bear responsibility for what happened to her child. People love this grievance industry that's been created, and all those people, they're upset about a million things. They like Mamdani. Why? Because all he says, I'm going to fight for you. I'm going to fight for you. It's a very typical populist approach. But because we don't hear it, and he's packaged well, he's brown, he checks many of the boxes. The only thing that would make him better is if he was part of the LGBTQ community, right? Because he's a Muslim, he is this, he's that, he's fantastic, he's an immigrant, and he's gay, or whatever, right? Part of that
He might be.
I'm sorry?
He might be.
Right, maybe he is, but I'm not saying that. What
Yeah.
I'm saying is that would be the trifecta for him. Then people would say, oh, look, yeah, you don't like him because of this. You don't like him because of that. You don't like him because of whatever. And it's that grievance industry that thrives with people on the left. So I think that the true answer to this came from a Democrat many years ago during the Clinton administration, and it's the economy, stupid. The Raging Cajun James Carville said that. Guess what? When everybody's making paper and you got some big wood stacking chips, guess what? Nobody cares about those things. You start saying, hey, I'm going to raise taxes, I'm going to do whatever. They go, I don't think that's a good idea because I like keeping the money I make. But when you're not making enough money, you go, you know what? I'm going to take Mark's money and Rosange's money and Cozy's money because I'm not making enough money. So this is another big issue that we have in New York, and that's, to me, the fix. It's always the fix. You got to get government out of the way so people can make money. But when you have big corporations, and you're talking about Brickell, Miami. Brickell, Miami right now is thriving. Why? Because it's becoming the second biggest Wall Street hub in America. Texas is competing for that. Guess who's not competing for that? New York City. So Wall Street is slowly dissipating, and other parts of the country that, quite frankly, are nicer in weather, nicer in Second Amendment rights, nicer in First Amendment rights, red states, California and Texas and Florida. These are great states to be in. Who wouldn't want? I love Brickell, right? Who wouldn't want to be there? So when you start making these comparisons, you see the money is going to go. And not overnight, it's starting to go, and I think we're going to continue to see it go. Some people take exception with what I'm saying. They go, oh, Wall Street ain't going anywhere. I would push back and say it's going. You don't have this growth in Brickell, and you don't have this growth with the new stock exchange, a whole new stock exchange in Texas. That wouldn't happen if New York wasn't losing some steam. So when we look at all that, whatever the solution is, right? And I don't know that I have a solution, but I realize where the problems lie, and they lie in partly if we were making more money, the left, their arguments crumble. Then it goes back to what it was in the 70s and in the 60s, where they only dealt with the people that were downtrodden. So the smaller we keep our base of poverty, the better. As that expands, we've got a problem. So again, now back to President Trump, this is part of the solution, eliminating this fraud, going after these things. And I think the biggest part, what we could all get in on, is these conversations where we have people that listen to us and we can say, please listen to me. Let me help you understand why this isn't good for you. And just hope that we're going to get somewhere. Now, to Rosange's point earlier, something that I think is happening and is important is that people are seeing what's going on. There are people that were once on the fence, and it really started with what you guys mentioned, COVID. I think during COVID, people were like, well, you got to wear a mask. You don't want to kill Abuela. We don't want to do this. And then they were like, holy snap, Abuela's dead. And I can't even go see her. And we're burying her, and I'm looking at her on a FaceTime video. I'm clapping for the nurse, but the nurse doesn't let me in. And there was a drastic disconnect where people started to say, listen, I let you piss on my leg once, and you told me it was raining, and I believed you. But you can't piss on my leg every day and tell me it's raining. At some point, I'm going to call you out and say, that's not how it goes. And I think that's where we got with COVID. People realized a lot of things went wrong. right? People started seeing, why can't we have ivermectin? What was wrong with hydroxychloroquine? A lot of people asking questions, and people like Cozy, people that were losing their jobs. You know, I didn't take this quick story. I know I'm everywhere here, but this is an interesting story. A big media company, one of the top 3 in this country that I worked for, put me in a position where they said, hey, listen, you got to take the vaccine or you can't be here anymore. And it was interesting because it was in 2021. The pandemic was over. And during the pandemic, guess who was faithful in that studio in New York City every day? Me. I worked alone. It was one day, I think I did 8 hours straight on the air. Nobody does that in radio. The longest you do is 4. I did 8. And it was the most I'd ever done. And I was like dying. I was drinking all the water in the world. This is something that I did, and there was nobody else doing it at that time. And then when it came time, they said, oh, it's a company policy. You know, just take the vaccine. I said, no, it's against my religion. They said, no, well, too bad. I said, well, I can't do that right now. They said, well, that's too bad. I happened to be working on a show, a really big show, and that the great one, Mark Levin, was my boss, and he was like, we're not letting him go. And he got involved, and thankfully they made an exception, not to the rule. They just made me fit the rules they had. They had a rule that said you have to be permanently remote in order to stay employed here. And they decided to build a studio in my home just so that I could be permanently remote and continue my work.
Wow.
Big shout out to the great one. But not everybody had that blessing, right? I was God's favorite that day. A lot of people lost their jobs, lost their wages for years on end, and are still fighting today to get it back. That opened up a lot of opportunities for me. But I realized during that time, while I was doing my thing in radio and podcast and all of that, a lot of people were taking an L on so many different levels. And that opened up people's eyes when they said, hold on, I don't like these people. I was with these people forever. They told me that, you know, white people were bad. They told me that I believed them on everything. Hasta que llegamos aquí, and I'm not the bad guy. And when people were realizing that they weren't the bad guy, but yet they were being chastised like they were the bad guy, it woke people up. And I think we're at a moment like that right now, but it's not as severe. So it's going to take a little longer, right? Having Mamdani and this nice shiny polish that he comes with saying, oh, it's great, the collectivism, blah, 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 and all this, you know, stuff that he's talking about. This really, it motivates people that don't have. And the real message for people that don't have, like me, I grew up very poor, Brooklyn, New York. I opened up a barbershop in every illegal way you could when I was 16 and a half. Made it legal by the time I was 18, I had a fully legal functioning thing. I had gone to barber school, and I was in cosmetology school. And I learned how the system worked, and I learned how to do my thing, and I did it. But I realized it was the 90s, late 90s, early 2000s. It was a different time, and it was easier to make money back then. You know, I've always liked jewelry. Gold was $700 an ounce back then. Gold is $4,040 today, but last month it was $5,000 an ounce. Just think about that, right? When I was talking about my kids earlier, there's no way that the rent on my first barbershop was $700 a month. I know people who cannot rent a couch, let alone a room, for $700 a month. So these are realities that we have to tackle, and I don't have all the answers to it, but I do know that as we help wake people up, more and more people are waking up. I think the bigger question is, you got guys like me. I dipped out of New York. I'm in Jersey now. Jersey's just as communist as New York. So what's my next step? I'm going to Brickell, or I'm going to Puerto Rico. And why? Because I like palm trees. And I think a lot of people are doing that because they've realized this is a fight that you can fight until you're blue in the face, and you may feel like you're not winning. Now, final point, and then we could argue if you want, because this is an interesting point. There's a guy that I like for for governor of New York, Bruce Blakeman. I've heard him say recently that if he's elected, he would not remove Mamdani unless there was a felonious act. And I thought to myself, that doesn't sound like enough to me. Maybe I'm wrong here. Maybe I'm setting the bar too low, but I don't think we need to wait for a felony to get rid of this guy, because that is a big part of why I think we should vote. And people who normally wouldn't vote for a Republican will vote for a Republican, is because they're saying, you know what? I erred, E-R-R-E-D. I erred in judgment when I voted for this guy. And I know that from a bunch of Democrat Puerto Ricans telling me in the middle of June, when they got snubbed by Mamdani, this guy's a wolf in sheep's clothing. He did me dirty. So you got one community that's waking up. You've got Dominicans. I happen to have a business deal with this merengue band called Oro Solido. And the dude calls me and he's like, I'm thinking, Raúl Acosta, el presidente del merengue, he says he wants to run against Adriano Espaillat for that seat. A week later, this Daria Lisa wins. I said, good thing you didn't run. He turns around and says, I think we should help Adriano. Right? So you see how quickly things change when the enemy of my enemy is my friend, because that's how politics really breaks down. And I'll tell you what, I don't believe Espaillat has a shot, even if he ran as an independent, and I don't think he's trying to. But I don't think he has a shot because the momentum is there for this woman. She does support the LGBT community. She's a Dominican that became a Muslim. And I mean, it's just, it's fascinating to me that that is selling, but that is selling in Washington Heights.
So Rich, let me tell you, before you
Go ahead.
I want to tell you, so, you know, you mentioned clearly, like, you know, about the messaging. Their messaging is on point. That's why they're getting people, right? They're telling them about the economics, right?
Yeah.
And that sounds great. And the Republicans, listen, on a national level, like you hit, on the national level, they hit it right, because when they last ran, they blew Kamala away. They blew the Democrats away by a long shot, because they put the right people together, right? They had that whole coalition, Elon Musk, Kennedy,
Yeah.
Tulsi Gabbard. So, you know, we blew them away nationally. But in New York, what is it going to take for us? Do we even have a chance, do you think, in your opinion?
Yeah.
Do you think that there is a way to defeat these socialists, or do you think that we're just too far gone?
I think we can win. But it's exactly what you said. We have to develop that coalition. That coalition. People think it's being sycophantic about Trump. It's not. Look at Trump as a blueprint. Trump's a really, really smart guy. If you look at how he moves and what he did, Tulsi Gabbard was the vice chair of the Democrat National Committee. Tulsi Gabbard was the campaign chair for Bernie Sanders. That's AOC's communist grandpa. AOC all out crazy, right? Trump, like this with Tulsi Gabbard. Why? Because Hillary Clinton did her dirty, and he saw an opportunity, and he didn't wait. This game is all about not waiting, right? But you have him, this visionary that's doing it. That visionary is needed in New York, and I hope that it's Bruce Blakeman. I hope that Bruce Blakeman, or whomever carries this torch, says, you know what? Guys like Cozy, guys like Mark, women like Rosangel, right? All representing different things, right? Entrepreneurship in media, public service, healthcare workers that have been displaced. And I'm going to start there. I think that is the biggest opportunity right now of low-hanging fruit is that one. The former Democrats that are, I'm saying former prophetically, right? They're Democrats that lost their job, and they're like, hold on a second. What's going on? Those people will become whomever you ask them to be, right? MAHA, MAGA, you name it. If you give them a reason to vote and you tell them, hey, look, I'm going to Albany. You're back. Trust me. I get in.
Maybe that's it, man. Maybe that's the key. Like, replicate what happened on the national stage right here in New York, and, like, you know, start finding the right people to inspire people. Because right now they're not inspired, right? I'm sorry, but Bruce Blakeman, listen, I'm going to vote for Bruce Blakeman and all, you know, because that's the only option we have here.
Right.
So, but what I'm saying is, I don't think he's reaching the people in the city. He's not reaching. They're seeing him as a white, and I have nothing against white people. I'm white myself. I'm just saying, a white, older man. They're not going to go for that. He's not inspiring them. So we need people that he needs to team up with to bring that, you know, that variation, you know, and that will be the winning game.
I don't disagree, but I'm going to say this. Trump is a white older man, although he's a little orange, they say, but he is a white guy, right?
Well,
that narrative goes out the
national.
window, right?
Yeah.
When you have the right message. And again, I think Trump is unique. I like to use him as an example, but I know it's a difficult one to use. His name is on
the flip side
so
is
many
Bernie
buildings in
Sanders,
New York.
by the way,
Go ahead.
but on the flip side is Bernie Sanders, by the way. He's an old white man, but
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And
I love him
listen, I'm just pointing that out, not because I think this way. I'm pointing
No,
it out
I
because
know what
that's
you're
how the socialists look at it. You know what I mean? So obviously, I don't care what you are.
Yeah. My
As long as you
point
have
with
the
that,
right-
though, is I think that's a weak argument that is easily beatable. You give them the right white guy, right? Elon Musk. Pick one that, I'm just using big names because they're easy to see. But you pick one that sells And it's about being able to sell these coalitions. It's about being able to get disaffected Democrats, healthcare workers, whatever other vertical you can find that has a problem with this, right? I could guarantee you right now, of the two guys from the Bodega Union, the Fernando Mateo is one, and the other one, I forget his name. The other one's got to be eating his own hand right now because he went all in for Mamdani. And now they're opening multiple competitors at a 30% discount. Listen, I grew up in a bodega. My dad was the muscle to a illegal casino that was in the back of a bodega on Nostrand Avenue. I get how that works, and a lot of them rely on that I'm going to call it the black market of bodega to make money, right? Whether it's selling EBT, selling K2, and all, whatever they sell. But they are still a business that's run there, and the majority of them are legitimate. And when these people are going to see this and say, this isn't for me, right? Mm-hmm. I used to work at WABC. John Catsimatidis, he made his fortune in grocery stores. And to say that is a done deal now, that's no longer part of the American dream, I think is a wild thing because of the government. So it hasn't happened yet, but I think that's the distinction that we have to make. That's how we have to hit this thing home to make sure we get people like that involved, right? Get the bodega unions, get the John Catsimatidis of the world, the guys that made a fortune in the bodega business and the supermarket business, and get everybody else on these issues that make sense, right? So cab drivers, Uber people who don't want to pay congestion pricing, all these people, you need to get them on board. And I don't know that there are a ton of them that live in the city. And again, that's where I think some of the hard part comes in. So you have to find the right issues. This stuff requires polling and it requires money. And I think that's another difficult part, right? If you don't have the money and you're not giving the money, who's giving the money? Somebody's got to bring the money to the table. Doesn't mean it's impossible, but it means that we have to have a very clear path and a very, very clear message and a very, very clear vision of what we want to do and how to get it done in order to get it done. And I think that part has been lacking for a very long time. Last good one I saw was Sliwa, and before him, honestly, Giuliani, right? Those were the people I think that had a vision for New York, that really had their heart in it, were willing to die for this city, and we need the right standard bearer and then the right army behind them, because alone nobody really gets anything done.
And unfortunately, as you mentioned, Sliwa, our own, the Republican Party turned their backs on him and went to vote for a Democrat. So what I'm saying is, even the Republicans here, they're not to be, you can't even trust them.
Again, but what does that tell us? Right, Cozy, for me, what that says is there's an establishment in Albany or wherever you want to position the GOP, Ed Cox and those guys. I know them. I think they're good people. But guess what? If you're on the ground and you're making noise, and I've told this to a lot of people over the years, every business to me is like this, right? Whether you're selling crack on a block or you're making podcasts or you're doing anything, you're like, hey, look at me, and people are like, nah, I'm not looking at you. You do the right thing. You start getting 100,000 downloads, and then somebody's like, oh, wow, look at that guy, right? And you start reaching millions of people, and oh, look at that guy. You start making money, and you take over another block, and oh, look at that guy. And that's how you gain respect in every hustle, whatever it is. And this is no different, right? The top of the Republican Party looks the other way or does what they do because of money and influence. Figure out how to move money and how to move people, and you get the influence you need to make the dent. Doesn't happen overnight, but it definitely happens.
I do want to make a correction there, because all of the Republican parties, all 5 boroughs, stood behind Curtis Lewa. It was Donald Trump and the media influencers that were putting out the message to go and vote for
But no, I took that not as the leadership. I took that as the electorate, the Republican electorate. Staten Island showed up for Cuomo. And that's something I didn't think was going to happen. I mean, in retrospect, I guess I should have imagined, right? But I really thought that because they were solidly behind Curtis, and he did really, really well there in the previous election. So these were things that, again, maybe I was too close to it to have seen it, but I didn't see that coming from the majority of people, friends of mine, people that were very close to Curtis. In fact, there was a couple of people that I knew who'd endorsed Curtis publicly and then came back and said, oh, I'm not doing that. And I thought, how do you do that? I mean, how do you put your face out there and then take it back? That's the craziest thing. And I knew Cuomo wasn't going to win.
It was money and fear. It was money and fear.
Money
That
and
was
fear.
no,
They didn't
100%.
have
They threw 26, I think it
cojones.
was $26 million, I think it was, and a fear campaign, right? And that's all it took. That's all it took.
It didn't work. We still got
didn't
Mamdani.
work.
It still didn't work. Exactly. You still got this.
Like we said, and look, I'm being mindful of the time. Rich has
Yeah.
a show that is just a few minutes away. Wrap out comments and let people know where they can connect with you. And thank you
Sure.
so much for joining us, and we hope to have you again soon on the show.
Yeah, my pleasure. I definitely want to be with you guys again. I could do this all day. I don't know if you got it yet, but I enjoy conversation, and I enjoy it on these topics because these things matter. And if anybody wants to catch up with me and the stuff I'm talking about, like the pregnant lady, not the pregnant lady, the mom who left her kid in the car, and I don't mean to trivialize it. That's a horrible thing, and I'm really sorry about it, but we're going to be talking about that on the show tonight, as well as I have an interview, a one-on-one exclusive that I did with the psychiatrist to Hunter Biden, Dr. Keith Abloh. He's one of the top psychiatrists and what do they call those? Executive coaches in the whole world, actually. We did a one-on-one, and that's coming up as well. So check me out at richvaldes.com, Rich Valdes with an S.com, at Rich Valdes on all of the social media. Rosangel and Mark and Cozy, I want to thank you guys for having me and giving me so much time and letting me blah, blah, blah.
It was a pleasure having you on, man, and I'll definitely check out your show.
You got it, man.
Nice
Hasta la
meeting
próxima.
you.
Take
Muchas
care. God bless.
bendiciones, guys.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks.
well.
Likewise.
Take care.
You bet.
Yeah, I want to touch on that topic with the lady in the car because, I mean, normally I would think one way, but, the fact that she was doing the delivery apps and stuff, it's not like she could take the baby with her, and at the same time, it's in the middle of the summer, so if she turns the car off, the AC won't be going. So and some of those cars you can't lock when the engine's running. Like I had a car, my Lincoln was able to do that. I was able to leave the AC running and lock the doors. But yeah, it's a tough situation because she has to, and if she hires a babysitter, then the money she's making for doing deliveries is offset paying for a babysitter. So it kind of defeats the purpose there. So yeah, that's a tough
We lost
situation.
Jose.
Yeah, RA, you're not on live with us anymore. There you go.
Sorry, I kept getting I was getting 3 calls in a row from an inner
Oh.
circle, and you know how my life is right
if
now.
you need to
No,
take
no,
care of it, go ahead.
everything's okay. Everything's
Okay.
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 Sorry
yes.
about that.
So that story, yeah, it's sad, and I don't want to blame her. Like, first of all, one is your kid is your prized possession. You don't leave them in a car. But if you do it, I mean, nobody should be stealing the car. So like, you have to obviously blame the thief, right? Like, who the hell? Like, you see a baby there, you see a car, you steal it. You shouldn't be doing that in the first place, right? But I guess they're both to blame, right? You blame a little bit of both, but I understand the woman. I don't even know the story. I'm just hearing it from you guys, so
Yeah.
I'll never judge this woman. It should have never happened. Should have never happened, and it's sad. And hopefully they found the baby. Hopefully the baby's safe, and hopefully they don't charge the mother with anything because that would be horrific.
Yeah, normally you hear the stories of babies being left in cars in the heat and all that, and even dogs in the heat and stuff. But it's that's the reason why these newer cars, when you turn the car off, it gives you a warning. Make sure you check the back seat for passengers. Like, really? Like, you need to tell me that in the car? That's what we've come down to, where you need a reminder in the car to tell you to check the back seat so you don't leave your kids in the car? Like, how much
have a
drugs are
story to
people
share.
on nowadays? But go ahead.
I have a story to share. Well, first, before I segue to that little story, if anybody has an update on what we're talking about, if that baby was found or not, please put it in the comment section because we would like to know. But along that, I recently saw this come up on the social media feed that granddaughter was with her grandmother, and I don't know if she was running an errand, but she left her grandmother inside a Tesla under pet safe mode. I don't have a Tesla. I don't know anything about a Tesla, so please forgive me if I'm speaking incorrectly. But she was inside the Tesla, the grandmother, under pet safe air AC. Something went wrong, and the thing malfunctioned. There was grandma knocking and knocking out the window, trying to get anybody's attention because it was a very hot day and she was very, very hot, having a panic. Somehow, like the way the story moved along, the cops arrived at the scene, but they were not able to open the Tesla. They were lucky enough to track down. They looked in the vicinity. I don't know if they started knocking on doors. They tracked down the grandmother. But think about that. Like, why are our modern cars doing that? Why would you even want a car that could become like a little box that you can't get out of? A prison. Ugh.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you can't exactly jimmy the locks. Like, I mean, I would think that the cops, worst case scenario, would have broken the windows to let the lady have air and survive if it came down to it, as a last resort. But other than that, like the doors, you need like, it's like almost like a credit card, and you could also attach it to your phone. It acts as a key for the Tesla. So yeah, I don't see how that malfunctions with the pet safe to leave the AC on, but I mean, yeah, it's crazy.
I want to rewind back to our conversation, right? Because as we were talking with Rich Valdes, a thought came to my head, right? And it's about the messaging that the socialists have, right? And they're sharp on it, and it's working for them because they're like, with affordability, yeah, we're gonna freeze the rents, right? And a thought came to my head. It's like, wow, the same concept, the same idea happens to the same people who went and said, went to the doctor. I'm relating it to allopathic medicine, and I'm gonna write a Substack post because like this really inspired me. But like, think about taking a pill, right? You say, you know what, I have high blood pressure, I'm gonna take this pill, right? So yeah, you're gonna freeze your rent, but it's gonna cause side effects, right? It's gonna break down, it's gonna, bring down, let's say, your cholesterol with a cholesterol medicine, but bring that down, but it'll give you memory loss. It'll give you hormone issues, right? Same thing is happening. Yeah, we'll freeze your rent, but what's gonna happen is all the other rents are gonna start raising because the landlords are gonna need to make up for their losses. The other thing that'll happen is people will start moving away. People will take their investments, developers won't want to develop. All these are side effects. Same thing with allopathic, which is mainstream medicine. There's side effects, right? You take a vaccine where they say, take the measles shot. It might not give you, you might protect yourself from measles, which I don't even believe, but let's say you protect yourself from measles, but your kid will have autism, your kid will have neurological problems, your kid will have autoimmune disease, your kid will have allergies. This same concept is because people live in a bubble. Their brain thinks in bubbles, and life is not like that. Math is not, you can't chop up math and say, you know what, I'm only gonna hold this down. Same thing when this works with everything in life, right? Math is a living thing, and you can't just break it down. The analogy is just there, yeah, man, you just can't fix one thing and just think that there won't be side effects is basically the message.
Yep. And I did post a video on Instagram earlier this morning with RFK Jr. crapping on the CNN anchor with the whole vaccine thing. So people are still brainwashed to think that vaccines are there for safety when they're not. And I never thought I would be an anti-vaxxer, but then when you actually see the ingredients of these things, it's like you gotta trust the real science and not the fake science that's told to you. But to go back a little bit, Rose Angel, the kid was rescued in Atlanta. The cops tracked the car down using license plate scanners, and the kid was the guy who stole the car was arrested, and the kid was rescued, and he's fine. 2-year-old kid.
And did they do anything to the mother?
I mean, I'm on there with you guys. It's not like I had time to read the whole story.
Right. Well, if anybody knows, it's hopefully they didn't punish the mother, because that would be terrible.
Yeah. But I mean, if the mother gets arrested, she could probably plead the fifth, like Mr. Fauci, who is pleading the fifth on what color tie he's wearing, whether there's a folder in front of him 111 times, believe a lot of it for things that are completely irrelevant. And considering he has a presidential pardon, it's not legal for him to plead the Fifth Amendment if he has a pardon because he's not incriminating himself anymore. But on the flip side of that, the pardon itself is signed by AutoPen, so that pardon might be negated, but who knows? So I mean, obviously we want to hear the truth and we don't want to hear the fifth, and we want to
HHS secretary, and you are.
Sorry, Mark, I didn't mean for that to play. I just
Yeah.
wanted to cue it up.
Yeah, that's the video that I mentioned earlier with RFK and the anchor, so we'll play that a little later on. But yeah, I mean, I said what I said. I mean, maybe since the pardon is irrelevant, I mean, Rand Paul posted that the statute of limitations passed for Fauci on some of these crimes or something recently, a few months back. We all were waiting for that deadline, and nothing happened to him. So, I mean, I guess he figured, instead of prison, he might be killed if he says what he's supposed to say, because he's not the ringleader, he's not the puppet master here. He's just a puppet when it's all
Listen,
said and done.
I'm tired of all this. I'm tired of all this theater. I'm just tired of it. Like the fact that they just let him keep saying it. Listen, I'm gonna repeat this again, and I joke about this all the time, and it's partially a joke. But just let me be dictator. Let me be a dictator for 2 weeks. Let me be a dictator for a month, and I'll clean house. I'll get rid of all these problems in America. Day one, Fauci's going to prison. Who's next? Bill Gates in prison. No questions asked. I don't want to hear
Afuera,
evidence.
Bill Gates.
Evidence is in my head. I don't
Him
care.
and Fauci can practice getting function and
Put them in there.
together.
Next thing, get rid of a lot of people that shouldn't be here. Get rid of these Democrat socialists. I would just enact a new law. That's it. You're done. You're a communist. You believe in Marxism. You don't belong in this country. Out you go. Go to North Korea. That's where I'm sending you. And if anybody has a problem with that, I don't give a crap. But that's how I think, because the U.S. has the Constitution. When you swear an oath, when you become an American citizen, you basically are swearing that you agree with the Constitution. You agree with free speech. You agree with the right to practice religion. That you basically you go down the list, and these communists don't believe that. They do not believe that. They don't believe in checks and balances. They don't want freedom for you. So why are you here? Why are you here? Why are you trying to change the way the law of the land works? Get out. And until we bring that energy, New York is going to keep falling.
Well, as the both of you mentioned, Fauci had his testimony on the COVID origins, in which he pleaded the fifth, reportedly 111 times. And there was this cute little diary that they kept referencing.
Sure.
And I hear you, because I heard also, I've heard what you said also, Cozy, in the other podcast. I agree with you. My intuition tells me this. I don't know if I buy the whole diary story. The caveat that I will say, when people say, I don't know anyone that would ever write personal stuff on their diary on a laptop and not, like, I know a lot of people who write their personal stuff on electronic and not on paper. And I know OCD, I'm not trying to, let me take that back in sensitive land. I know other community members that write every single thing down that happens in their life. Today I met with such and such. This happened today. Today, blah, 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 blah. This opened doors for me. And they keep a record of everything, especially, for example, if someone like, if you are involved with grants and money exchanges with the government, or if you have a business, you have to keep track of any type of exchange that you did that may have had money, because then you may need to report it. So you need to know the date, what happened. Like, when we do events, for example, I'm doing an invoice, I have to show before I submit that invoice that what was the product that I gave in order for me to get paid. So there's got to be some sort of paper trail, and I don't know if that was part of his diary, which is just the caveat that I'm adding. But my intuition is just such a convenient little story where you could still set the stage and remind people of all the things that they may not have thought about or seen during COVID because maybe they were in a contracted fear state. So, you bring it up again. Those of us who were so knee deep in it, it's exhausting for us. And for many people, it's opening wounds. But whatever it is, whether this is part like of a psyop or let's just get people emotions riled up so that we can energize that distraction for our benefit, we can still use this moment to educate the masses as to what really happened and the nuance of things that happened during COVID, such as New York City, for example. I do have a clip that I would like to show of I recommend, if you haven't seen the full CNN interview with Dana and RFK, this is just a small little clip.
HHS secretary, and you are talking about things that lead to vaccine hesitancy in this country, and it is something that causes problems for people when there is not anything.
Let me ask you something. Do you see your job as ending vaccine hesitancy, or do you see your job as telling the truth to the American people?
I see my job as telling the truth, and the truth is that there is study after study after study. It's one of the most studied things out there in science.
You're repeating
and it
it
is
like a parrot. You're repeating
So are
it
you.
like a parrot.
So are
I've
you.
actually read the science.
You
and
don't
I
wanna-
come
you don't
back
wanna-
here and debate the
So
science.
I'm not debating this with you.
Of course you won't.
No, because I'm not
all
debating
you know how to
also-
do is repeat things that people told you and say, trust the experts. That's what you did during COVID. Now we know that Anthony Fauci, who was the expert, was lying about everything, about masks, about social distancing, about natural immunity, about the transmission from the vaccine, about the source of COVID. He was lying, and you were punishing people for not trusting the experts. And now you're rolling out the experts again.
Yes.
To talk about something that you have no personal knowledge of.
Okay, well, guess what? That is my job, to talk to people.
Your job is to
Am I
tell the
allowed to
truth
talk?
to the American
Yes,
public.
yes. And my job
And
is
to
to
be-
get as
and
much
to-
information as I
And to
can. And
maintain
what we were doing,
a posture
what we were
of
doing,
fierce skepticism
what we
toward
were
government
doing
authority.
in COVID and still, with regard to these vaccines, is getting the best information, the best science that we can, and putting it out there. And sir, what you are doing is causing
getting the best
information
science
to be
from
out there that
somebody
is
who's lying to
not
you.
accurate.
Who was lying to
The
you?
Wow.
Information that is not accurate when literally everything Fauci said was a lie, and that's what they were reporting. So she's blaming him for saying things that are inaccurate, but everything CNN said during the pandemic was inaccurate. So it's insane.
She looked like a deer in headlights. That woman was like, she didn't know where to go. She's like, so are you, so are you. I'm like, get out of here, lady. These people are just, and she probably really believes it. That's what gets me. It's like she really believes she's telling the truth. That's what's sick. These people are psychotic. They need help. They need help.
You do have people that defect every now and then, like Chris Cuomo and stuff, that eventually they realize that they're with the bad guys, and some of them don't care. They're getting a paycheck. They will go and spew whatever bullshit that they can to go and get,
Totally.
to
What you
get
just
paid.
said. Chris Cuomo, he totally knows the truth. He totally knows the truth. I know his wife. Listen, I could just tell you, his wife is into health. She's, she's doing her yoga or whatever she's doing. Listen, I don't think they vaccinate their kids. Do you think that,
Fauci
Chris Cuomo.
There was the emails years ago that
Look at my
I
page.
posted the link about, like, that showed Fauci, all his friends and family, he's on there with emails telling them, no, you don't need to wear masks, you don't need to take the vaccine, don't do it and stuff, telling everyone he knows not to take the vaccine, but telling the American people to wear 2 masks and vaccines, and like nothing made sense during that time, and gullible people believed it,
Do you remember
unfortunately.
that shit when Chris Cuomo was in his basement? He's like, I'm isolating, I'm being quarantined, and I was making fun of him. I was making fun of all that stuff. And then who do I see? I see Chris Cuomo watching my stories as I'm calling him out. Chris Cuomo, you're sneaky, but we saw you. I have a screenshot of your stories.
You know what's funny to me, like especially from living in Wokey Pokey Land perspective, that people in Wokey Pokey Land, some of the girls and some of the gay guys were in love with the Cuomo brothers.
Yeah.
They didn't know which Cuomo brother they wanted the most. Even,
Disgusting.
dare I say, some of my female relatives were all into Cuomo. I assumed, since they were older, that it would be Government Cuomo, but no, I was corrected. It was Chris. They were fanning over Chris.
There were
And
a
I was
bunch of
just like,
homosexuals.
the whole time. I'm like, what's going on here? And then you want to know, now in the present moment, I find myself sometimes teetering on the edge of MDS, Mamdani derangement syndrome.
Oh, I have it too.
Why? Because I try to show a story about him to certain folks in my community, and the first thing I'm met with is, ay Dios mío, que pollo. Oh, that man is so beautiful. Oh, look at that smile.
God.
And I want to just go, what's going on here?
How could they see that as attractive? When he speaks, when he does that smile, I feel repulsed. I feel disgusted. I feel like barfing. I feel like I don't want to say what I feel like.
Well,
doing,
maybe
but-
they'll say because you are a guy, so you're not gonna look at him
Yeah.
like that.
No, but still, the fact just that
he
it's
charmed
just
his way
puking.
to lots of other Browns. They all
It's
fell in
just-
love
he's
with
so
him.
disgusting.
I mean, when he's showing up in the parades, they are receiving him like they get as excited as if like a A-list celebrity was in their presence.
Yeah.
Like hyperventilating, screaming to the point that your ears feel like they're gonna pop. And yeah, and how do you compete with that? I don't think that what we will keep repeating this here, that what some people on the other side do, which is name calling and just trashing Mamdani and his supporters, that's not gonna bring anyone to a come
Yeah,
to
it's
Jesus,
not.
critical common sense moment of decision or a change in the vote situation.
So basically, we're screwed. Sayonara, New York City. You guys, I don't know. You fell asleep at the wheel. I don't know what's happening. You should have went out and voted in droves. You didn't do it. And even if you voted, they're cheating. So I don't know what to tell you. I have no solution. The only solution I have is just keep speaking out the truth.
We need to protect our
Be as
constitutional
patient.
right.
Be as patient as you can and just keep talking. That's all you can do, people. That's all you can do. Patience, and just keep pointing it out until these idiots wake up.
And keep watching Cafecito Break every Mondays at 8 p.m. We'll go into more solutions, especially as the election rolls on. I mean, Bruce Blakeman for governor obviously will be better than Kathy Hochul. It doesn't...
Hochul. He said Hochul. Listen, now that you brought this up, Mark, listen,
We're
let's have-
allergic to say her name. That's what's
Let-
going on.
Let's have this conversation because I like that. When we talk about, we need to find the coalition, right? Because it's not going to work with, I'm sorry, Bruce. It's not going to work with you alone. If you're listening to this, Bruce, I love you. I want you to win, but you need to have a coalition. Just like when Trump won with Elon Musk, Tulsi Gabbard, RFK Jr., find those people. Reach out to Larry Sharp. Reach out to other people. Find the people in New York that, find people who are passionate. Find people in each category of people who dislike these Democrat socialists and dislike Kathy Hochul. And let's get that together. It might be a little too late, but you got to find the team. You got to find the A team to get rid of these dirty socialists.
Oh
They're
my God,
dirty.
we definitely cannot have Governor Hochul win, and I know that's part of the reason why she's maybe not going hard on certain stances, because she's not trying to lose any
She'll never
votes
lose.
from the
She'll never
Mamdani camp. I will have one more clip of RFK Jr. and then wrap out comments.
We need to protect our constitutional rights. That is the primary obligation
What
of
does
our
that mean?
country. Well, during COVID, we completely dismantled our constitutional rights. We began censoring people in violation
Okay, but
of the
what
First Amendment.
but I'm not, you're
if
saying
you
what
wanna-
not to do. I'm asking what to do. But I want to talk
Well,
about.
that's something to do. That is the number one priority. We protect the Constitution. The Constitution was written.
Forgive me, but you're talking about rights, and I'm asking about a potential public health crisis that is coming. But I do want to
And one of the mistakes we made in the last time was suppressing those rights so people weren't being heard. Doctors who were saying you're doing it wrong were being marginalized and vilified. And
because again, I really want to move on, but.
yeah, of
You were
course
saying
wanna
you were
move on
yes,
because
I
you
do.
were
Of course you want to move
No,
on.
I wasn't.
Yeah,
the
there
problem.
was absolute press malpractice. You weren't allowing your
Mr.
job.
Secretary,
Your job
is
a furious skepticism
Okay.
toward authority. And
Yes,
you weren't
I am.
doing that. You
I
were
am.
beating up
My
on
job
people
is
who
also
were dissenting.
No. Okay. Are you want to sit here and attack me, or do you want to have conversations
sitting
about
here and
public health?
attacking me.
I'm not attacking you. I'm asking questions about how to
And
prevent
let me
the next
ask the
pandemic.
question, and I'll tell you.
That's what I'm trying to do.
The media malpractice is really what I think we should focus on, because anybody who questioned Dr. Fauci was put off on an island. They were pariahs. And the media every day was telling us, trust the experts.
The only thing I want to just say before I pass it on to you guys is, did you notice Dana mentioning a potential health crisis that is coming, that she
Yep.
managed to sneak that in? I don't like that, because I do keep hearing or seeing reasons, little ways that they're still trying to get us to think they're going to lock us down again.
Let them try. I'll start biting people.
Oh my God. I'll start
ain't happening,
collecting
bro.
I'll
I'm
start
breaking
collecting
shit.
the New York City rats, and
Yeah,
they'll
listen,
be
man, it
they'll
ain't
be part
happening.
of the posse.
Let them do what they want. I don't care. You're not gonna stop me. I'm gonna live my life just like I lived, and I will just ignore every single person telling me what to do. It's not happening. It's not happening, especially this time. We're not doing it. We're not doing it again. Trust me.
I'm already essential worker as a truck driver, so I don't have to worry about any of that if it comes around again. I'm prepared for it. And I'm isolated from everyone in the truck anyway. So.
And by the way, we're joking. We wouldn't bite anybody.
Although I have been certain elected officials that have done that out in the protest streets. Just look at the recent New York City history, because it gets crazy. Look, New York City continues to be a hot topic for usually all the wrong reasons. But what I would like to point out as we are winding down this show is that there are a lot of beautiful things and a lot of beautiful reasons to love New York. And if you really do support content that folks like us create, make sure you give us a follow and connect with us. We're live every Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Next Monday, we are taking a day off, and we might take a few weeks off. Just, we're in family caregiving mode over here, or at least in this box that I would like to talk for. And so we just need a couple of weeks off to get ready for September. And in September, we're booking great guests, such as Tom Lapola, who is joining us on September 7th, FDNY chief that had to leave his post because he said no to the vaccines.
I guess time for final thoughts.
Yes.
All right. So first, I want to thank Rich for joining us. His show is on now, shortly after ours, and richvaldes.com. Stop voting for communists. it's not going to work out good for anyone involved, all the useful idiots. So, and follow me on @MarkForNY on all platforms. And I'm just going to keep it simple. I said what I had to say before, and yeah, nothing that the Democrats do makes sense. It's illegal. It's racist to ask for an ID to vote, but you need a vote to go buy groceries. So in communist Mamdani land. Cozy.
I could say a lot, but I'm just going to boil it down to one thing. Socialism is an ignorant, very ignorant system of government. It's dangerous. It's going to end up with you're going to end up with poverty, pain, and death. That's just what happens. That's just what the math says. So if you're a young person listening, that's not the way. That's not the way. The reason why America became so great, and don't tell me it wasn't great, it was great, and the reason why every single human being from all across the world is willing to risk their lives to come here, there's a reason for it. Because there's the thing that America has that other countries don't have is the ability to come here, no matter what color you are, what color, gender you are, you can come here and you can make it. You can come here with holes in your shoes and you can become a taxi driver. You can become a CEO. You can become president of the United States. Yes, you can become anything because we have the mobility here. You have the ability to do it. Okay?
Well, you
maybe
can't
not
be
president. You're not going to be president because you got to be
president.
a Illuminati secret society guy, and you got to kiss a lot of ass and do a lot of.
You
other
also
stuff.
have to be native born, but
I'm just kind of exaggerating with that one. But listen, if you have, if you're if you put your mind to it and you make the right connections and you align yourself with the right people by working hard, you can make it. Right? You can't do that in other countries. I'm sorry. You cannot do that. It's not that easy. But if you start messing with the tax system, the tax regulations, you start messing with all sorts of stuff like this, we're not going to be able to do this anymore. So reject the communists, reject those communist ideas because it's going to end with the destruction of America.
socialism is for the simple-minded.
Like my dad would say, no sea pendeja, porque de la pendeja nunca nadie ha escrito nada, which means do not be a sucker, because from the suckers no one's ever written anything about. And he would have said that to the folks that think that things are free, because that was a lesson that he also imparted on the Pérez sisters. Nothing is free. You have to work. Like, also, as Mark says, choose your hard. Everything is hard. And if you have a little say in which is the hardship that you could sort of like, well, I'm in this, like, I like Cafecito Break. I love Cafecito Break, but sometimes it's hard, especially when we're having little hiccups, but that's okay. Like, that's what I mean. Choose your hard. It takes, they say sometimes it takes like 10 years to really cultivate a brand that people love and trust. For some people that, they might go viral, they might become a sensation really quickly, but that doesn't mean that you've established longevity or a connection or a pathway to integrity. People are still getting to know you even if you're the hot popping thing. So trust me, there's something valuable in seeding things with integrity in whatever it is and how you choose to show up in this life. Thank you again for everyone who tunes in. Thank you, Rich Valdes, for joining us. Great interview. Everybody go check out his show, richvaldes.com. And okay, I'm going to leave you with a short clip of another freedom fighter that we treasure, and that is Dr. Brian Hooker, who was a previous guest on our show talking about vaccine injuries. We love you guys.
Good night, everyone.
It's like seeing the most horrific auto accident that you could ever imagine in your life. You can't unsee it. You can't unsee the damage that massive vaccination has done to American society and really done to society worldwide. And so, I've always felt like God's chosen us for this particular time, for this particular truth. and that the society really depends on us speaking out, really being able to say that particular truth. And I've, my son is he's nonverbal, but he spells to communicate. He's a speller, and so we ask him all the time, do you want me to continue to do this, or do you want me to stop? And his answer is always no. I want you to continue. I want you to help other kids like me, other kids, so they can prevent having a lifetime of vaccine injury. And so he is the motivation. I mean, he is clearly is the motivation. He's suffered more pain, and so as long as he says to keep going, then I keep going.